If you're one of the millions of people who kind of need coffee to function, but then you find yourself just hitting a wall in the afternoon, you're in the right place. We're going to completely change how you think about your coffee, turning that daily ritual from this roller coaster of energy and crashes into something that gives you steady, sustained focus all day long.
You know the feeling, right? You're on fire in the morning, totally focused, and then bam, 3 p.m. hits. And suddenly you're dealing with fatigue, brain fog, you're maybe a little bit irritable. It's that dreaded caffeine crash. But what if I told you the problem isn't the coffee? It's all about how and when it's interacting with your brain.
Look, to beat the crash, you first have to understand what's actually causing it. And it all comes down to this really fascinating chemical battle that's happening inside your head every single day.
Okay, meet the main character in this whole story, a little molecule called adenosine. The easiest way to think about it is as your brain's natural brake pedal. As your body uses energy all day, adenosine is the byproduct, and it just keeps building up and up and up. The more you have, the more sleep pressure you feel, which is really just your body's way of saying, hey, it's time to start winding down.
So then you drink some coffee. Now, caffeine is a master of disguise. Its molecular structure looks almost identical to adenosine. So it races up to your brain and it parks in the exact same spots, the same receptors that adenosine is trying to get to. It physically blocks them. And here's the absolute key. Caffeine does not create energy. It's an imposter. It just tricks your brain into thinking it's not tired by putting up a temporary roadblock for those sleepy signals.
Right. So while caffeine is playing defense and blocking all those receptors, adenosine doesn't just, vanish. It keeps building up in the background, like a huge crowd waiting outside a locked door. Eventually, the caffeine starts to wear off, that door flies open, and all that built-up adenosine just floods your system all at once. That sudden, overwhelming wave of tiredness, that, my friends, is the caffeine crash.
And there's another player we have to talk about, cortisol. This is your body's own natural wake-up hormone. It spikes about 30 to 45 minutes after you get out of bed, giving you that natural morning boost. Now, if you drink your coffee right during this peak, you're basically pouring a stimulant on top of your body's own natural stimulant. Not only does it not help much, but over time, it can actually make you build a higher tolerance to caffeine. So now that we get to science, let's dive into some of the really common mistakes we all make, mostly because they're based on myths we believe for, well, forever. First one up, a classic. We all tend to think that a darker, more bitter, more bold coffee has got to have more of a kick, right? But is that actually true? Well, surprise! The reality is actually the complete opposite. See, the roasting process makes coffee beans expand and lose a bit of their mass. So since light roast beans are roasted for less time, they stay more dense. That means if you're measuring by the scoop, like most of us do at home, that denser scoop of light roast beans actually has slightly more caffeine in it. Wild, right?
Okay, how about another big one? Espresso versus regular drip coffee. Now, if you look at it ounce for ounce, espresso is an absolute powerhouse. You can see it here. It's got around 63 milligrams per ounce, totally crushing the 12 to 16 you'd find in drip. Case closed, right? Espresso is stronger.
Hold on, not so fast. This is where serving size flips the entire script. You might have a tiny 1-ounce shot of espresso, but you're probably drinking a big 12-ounce mug of drip coffee. So even though espresso feels more intense, your standard cup of drip coffee is almost always delivering way more total caffeine to your system. And hey, let's just quickly put one more myth to bed. We've all heard that coffee dehydrates you. The truth is, while caffeine has a tiny diuretic effect, meaning it makes you pee a little more, studies show the water in the coffee more than makes up for it. So you can relax, your daily cup is not drying you out. All right, we've gone through the science, we've busted the myths. Now for the best part. The simple, totally doable things you can start today to prevent that crash and make coffee actually work for you. Here it is. This is our game plan for a crash-free day. It's not about quitting coffee, it's about being smarter with it. We're going to focus on 4 key things: when you start, what you drink it with, and when you stop. Let's walk through them. Delay, hydrate, pair, and time. So remember that cortisol spike we talked about? This is how you use it to your advantage. By just waiting 60 to 90 minutes after you wake up, you let your body's natural alertness do its thing. Then, when your cortisol starts to naturally dip, that's when you have your coffee. It gives you a boost right when you actually need it.
Next up is hydration and food. Drinking coffee on an empty stomach makes the caffeine hit you all at once, which makes a crash way more likely. If you pair it with some food, especially something with protein or fat, it slows everything down for a much smoother ride. And here's a great rule of thumb. For every cup of coffee you drink, have a glass of water. It just helps your body process everything way more efficiently.
This number right here is absolutely crucial if you care about your sleep. Caffeine has what's called a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours. So what does that mean? It means if you have coffee at 3 in the afternoon, half of that caffeine is still active in your system at 8 or 9 p.m., and that can seriously mess with your sleep quality. And of course, bad sleep just makes you more tired the next day, and the whole cycle starts over again. So a great rule is to just cut off the caffeine by early afternoon.
Okay, so we've hacked your daily energy levels, but what about the bigger picture? What about your overall health? Let's quickly tackle some of the biggest, oldest myths about coffee. I mean, this has to be the most famous one of all, right? The warning that our parents and grandparents have been passing down for generations. And the reality is, there is zero scientific evidence to back this up. None. The myth probably came from some old, outdated worries that caffeine might affect how your body absorbs calcium, but the effect is so tiny it's basically insignificant. Your height really just comes down to your genetics and your nutrition.
And what's really fascinating is that modern research has pretty much flipped our whole understanding of coffee on its head. Far from being this terrible thing for your heart, new studies are showing that a moderate amount, like 1 to 4 cups a day, might actually lower your risk of heart disease. And there's also a ton of growing evidence that coffee could even help protect your liver.
So you see, coffee isn't the enemy here. It's a really powerful tool, and now you actually know the rules to use it the right way. By making just these few small tweaks, you can ditch the crash, boost your focus, and actually enjoy all the good things your daily cup has to offer. So the question is, how are you going to rewrite your coffee story?